Over the past month and a half, I've been attempting a challenge in JToH that, as far as I'm aware, no one has tried so far. I'm attempting to beat every tower in JToH in the order they were released into the game, and so far, I've managed to beat the first 26 towers, the latest of which being my first SC that I've ever beaten. This will be the first of hopefully many videos documenting my progress towards completing this crazy challenge. Let's start the story with my experience with JToH and other obbies before I started this challenge. Before I started this challenge, I had been playing JToH for about 2.5 months. Before this, I never really played any obbies besides things like Escape the Supermarket. I had played JToH once before, but had only beaten TOTS, Tower of Anger, and Tower of Madness. I attempted the Tower of Heck, but ended up losing interest in the game. Eventually, I did come back to the game, and beat many new hardest. Specifically, my progression went something like this: Tower of Madness, Steeple of Infectious Foliage, Tower of Heck, Tower of Killjoys, Tower of Keyboard Eating, Tower of Screen Punching, Tower of Impossible Expectations, and finally, the Citadel of Laptop Splitting. This would remain my hardest completion in JToH until I decided to start this challenge to keep myself motivated to finish what was going to be my first rem, the Tower of True Skill. When I did start the challenge, my top 5 hardest completions in JToH were Tower of Rage, Tower of Deep Darkness, Tower of Impossible Expectations, Tower of Extraordinary Adventures, and Citadel of Laptop Splitting. I had the idea to try this challenge and figured it would be interesting to start a new account and beat the towers there. I logged into an alt that I had, and on June 28th, the challenge officially began. On day 1 of the challenge, I didn't stream like I normally do nowadays. I hadn't thought of doing this, and I didn't think anyone would be interested in my progression with the challenge, so I just decided to play through the towers thinking I wouldn't make it far anyway. The first tower added into the game, of course, is the Tower of Heck. Rebeating this classic tower did not take much effort. However, I did get pretty unlucky with it taking me about 20 minutes. The next tower was quite a step up in difficulty though. This was the Tower of Screen Punching. At this point, I never rebeaten this or any challenging difficulty tower, so I wondered how much time it would take to actually finish. Surprisingly, it took less time than Tower of Heck, only taking about 18 minutes. Similarly to my original completion on my first account, I didn't have to deal with any fails on the last 3 floors, which is pretty lucky considering most players agree that the difficulty does spike towards the end. Next up was Tower number 3, which was the Tower of Impossible Expectations. I technically rebeaten TOIE on my main account before, but died to the last kill brick to get the Get Beaned by TOIE badge, which requires you to fall for the last trap on floor 10. Anyways, I expected this to take a while because, at the time, it was my 3rd hardest, but yet again, it ended up taking me less than 30 minutes, which is pretty good for something that was that hard relative to my skill. Just like my first 2 completions of TOIE, I never failed the floor 8 outside section, which many consider to be the hardest part. I always found it pretty easy though, so this didn't surprise me too much. After this, we had the 4th tower, Tower of Anger. This tower, being easy difficulty, obviously didn't take me much time to beat, only about 7 minutes. There's not much else to say about it, it's a pretty simple tower. Next up was Tower number 5, which was the Tower of Madness. This was another really simple rebeat. This tower is medium difficulty, and it only took 7 minutes. Not much else to say, really. The next tower for me, tower number 6, was Tower of Keyboard Eating. TOTS was the first difficulty tower in the challenge. Have you noticed that every tower that I'd beaten on this account so far has a different difficulty? Unfortunately, the next tower ruins this streak of sorts. Anyways, this tower is a pretty quick rebeat, only taking about 10 minutes total. There's not much else to say about this one either, other than that I enjoyed it significantly more than I did the first time I beat it as the hardest on my old account. The next tower I had is a tower that I'd also never rebeaten, which was the Tower of Stress. Honestly, I was really scared to rebeat TOS. I remember this tower taking a long time on the first completion, and the first few floors were a big roadblock for me. Neither of these suspicions turned out to be true, however. I ended up beating this tower on my first attempt actually trying, even though this attempt was 30 minutes long. Other than this completion wasn't very special. I was relieved to beat it pretty quickly, I guess. The next tower, tower number 8, was another one that I was actually really scared of rebeating, this time being the Tower of Rage. Tower of Rage, unsurprisingly, ended up taking the longest of any of the towers so far. I ended up having quite a few fails towards the end of the tower too, whereas with all the other towers, I ended up fluking the later floors. This was kind of expected, because I had only recently beaten this tower on my main account, and it was my 5th hardest. A strange opinion I have about this tower is that the first few floors are the least consistent, and if you pass the spinner part, you have a good shot at actually beating the tower. Anyways, I had quite a few really annoying fails on floor 7 and 8, but when I ended up reaching the start of the tightrope cluster on floor 9, I knew I was safe. I took my time with this part, and I ended up beating the tower, which probably took a bit less than an hour. I decided to stop playing for the day after this, knowing that the next tower would be a massive roadblock in my progression in the challenge. When I got back on JToH for day 2, I started work on what would be my new hardest tower ever, the Tower of True Skill. Now, this tower was the reason why I actually started the challenge. At this point, I actually had about 12 hours of playtime on it, with pretty much nothing to show for it. My PB on my old account was just floor 4, which was a huge roadblock for me. I'd failed here probably over 20 times without passing it once. At first, I switched back to my old account because I wanted to have the tower beaten there, but spoiler alert, I didn't end up doing that. I ended up grinding it mindlessly for a few more days, and eventually I ended up getting a run that went all the way up to floor 6, but I ended up failing the really long jump. This boosted my motivation to play the tower, so I went all in. I knew that if I could get this far once, I could get way further with just a little luck. This stroke of luck would come on day 3 of the challenge, June 30th. I got a run to floor 5, which at this point was my 3rd time getting here. I ended up passing 5 and got past the long jump on 6. At this point, this is a PB, and I knew I had the opportunity to get far. I started to focus, and this is what happened. I couldn't believe it, but I had ended up getting all the way to floor 9 in this run, which is widely considered to be the hardest floor. Unfortunately, I did end up failing the first jump, which is right before what's widely considered to be the hardest jump of the tower. I didn't care about that though. This was exactly what I wanted to happen. I now knew that with enough runs and more practice, I could end up beating the tower. It was here when I decided that I would beat TOTS on the account where I was doing the challenge, and to go all in with it. On July 1st, I decided to stream the challenge for the first time. I did 2 streams that day, with the first one being pretty short and having basically no chatters. The furthest I ended up getting was floor 6, so this was pretty uneventful. The other stream I did was also around 40 minutes, and the furthest I made it was floor 4. This is a pretty boring day to say the least. The next day, July 2nd, would end up being a pretty good day for progress. I ended up doing 2 streams on this day, with the first one being around 90 minutes long. After about 10 minutes, I got yet another floor 6 fail, with this one being a pretty easy jump. After this, I didn't get past 4 for around 30 minutes. The next time I did reach 5 though, I ended up getting to 6, and then to 7, and then to 8. But unfortunately, I ended up failing a jump on 8 that was really similar to the one I had failed on 6 earlier. I ended up landing on floor 5,
So I decided to keep going and try and save the run.
I ended up getting back to 6, then 7, and then to 8. I passed the jump I'd failed and got back to 9. This time, I ended up passing the first jump, setting a new PB. I did end up failing the jump after, but this was completely expected as this jump was extremely inconsistent for me still. I had been practicing the tower off stream though and was getting really consistent at everything else, so I had a feeling that if I got lucky and passed it, that I could maybe end up beating it. I played more and more attempts, hoping for this lucky run, but I ended up never getting back to floor 5 on this stream. I ended and took a break and started up another stream in the evening. This stream would end up lasting over 4 hours. Within 10 minutes of attempts, I ended up getting an attempt to 6, which was a good sign. About 20 minutes later, I got a run to 7, but ended up failing a really strange jump that I had a different strategy than most people use. This fail was annoying, but I knew that if I stopped now, it would be wasted potential. It was at this point that I'd gained an actual viewer, which was helping me keep motivated. And it was only after a couple attempts that I ended up getting all the way back up to 7, but this time, I failed a jump that I also had a pretty wacky strategy for. I'd end up having to wait nearly 45 minutes for my next attempt, but this would end up being worth the wait. I got back up to floor 7 and passed both of the strange jumps that I had failed before. I ended up getting to floor 8 and then back up to floor 9. I passed the first jump and was back at the hardest jump of the tower. This time, though, I ended up landing the jump perfectly, which made my nerves shoot through the roof. I passed a bunch more jumps on 9, but my run came to an end at the 10 stud wraparound, the last jump of floor 9. I was a little disappointed, but more so just shocked at the fact that I had gotten so far into a tower of this difficulty. Keep in mind that this was way harder than anything I had beaten on my main account. Even though I had a sad fail, the run was far from dead as I landed on floor 7. I made my way back up to 8, but ended up failing there. The very next attempt though, I made it back there, and then back up to 9. Miraculously, I ended up passing the hardest jump of the tower again. I started to get really nervous, but I had to keep calm to do the jumps that needed precise movements. I got to my PB jump again, and this time I ended up passing it. At this point, I was freaking out. I was at floor 10, and was only a few jumps away from the win pad. What happened next was nothing short of crazy. No, wait! Oh my god, wait, no! What? No! That's right. I ended up failing at the head hitter ladder, at what would either be the second to last or maybe even the last jump of the entire tower, depending on how high my jump had went if I had passed it. I'd expected to fail floor 10, but I didn't think I would get all the way to the ladder. Even though this was a really tough fail, I wasn't really that mad. I was sad in the moment while I was falling, but when I realized how crazy this whole attempt was, I ended up laughing it off and continued to make attempts. For a while, I was mind-blocking the tower with the thoughts that I could have beaten it. It would end up taking me over an hour to get back to floor 5. On this attempt, I ended up failing in the exact same way I did the first time I got to 9, at the first jump. Nothing else really came out of this attempt, as I ended up loop failing for a few minutes, with that jump being the furthest I'd end up making it. About 20 minutes later, I ended up getting back up to floor 9, but I failed the first jump yet again. At this point, I'd been streaming for 3 hours, but I didn't want to stop just yet. I'd been losing consistency, but getting back to 9 motivated me further. I went to practice for about 10 minutes, and then went back to playing from the beginning. After another 10 minutes, I got another run to floor 7. I passed the awkward jumps and got to floor 8. I took my time with the kill bricks and reached floor 9. I landed the hardest jump of the tower yet again, and did the rest of the simpler yet difficult jumps. When I reached the 10 stub wrap, I was able to pass it and get another run at floor 10. Would I fail the ladder again, fail something else, or beat it? Let's see.
Oh my god, there's no way. There's actually no fucking way. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes, 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 yes. I fucking did it. Oh my god, I did it. Oh my god, I did it. I actually did it.
Yep, after over 25 hours of playtime, I was finally able to conquer Tower of True Skill, my first Remorseless tower. Being such a massive roadblock, being able to finally beat it was such an incredible feeling. It motivated me heavily to continue the challenge, where the next few towers were in the next area of the game, Ring 2. Fun fact. If it wasn't in the rules that I skipped towers that were removed after being in the game for a short period of time, I'd have to beat Tower of Confusion next, and that definitely wasn't happening. Anyways, the first tower in Ring 2 that I had to do was the Tower of Overcoming Hatred. TOTH is hard difficulty, so it only took me a couple of attempts to rebeat. I played it a bit the night I beat TOTS, but I ended up going to bed and beating it the next day. Despite this tower being really easy, this is up there for some of the worst towers I've beaten so far in the challenge. The next tower I'd have to beat is the Tower of Cold Hands. This tower was also pretty easy. It's rated as difficult, but I was scared of the outside section of 7. The first time I had beaten it, many months ago, I failed it many times. This time, however, I actually fluked it. It was pretty fun this time too, so that's cool. Next up is the second intense tower of the series, the Tower of Table Flipping. I was really scared of TOTF because it would actually be my second hardest completion to date. I did a practice run of the tower, and it didn't seem too bad for the most part. It still ended up taking me multiple days to beat though. On the first day of playing, I did 2 streams. On the first stream, I didn't play for long, but managed to get a run that reached to the floor 5 outside, which has a bunch of unmarked conveyors. I thought this part was pretty inconsistent at the time, but with practice, it became pretty easy. On the next stream, I played the tower for much longer, probably over 3 hours, and my PB was at the end of floor 9. My fail was at the super thin studs that you have to walk across and then jump off from to get to the head hitters that lead to floor 10. I didn't think I would fail this part, so I was pretty annoyed. The next day, I started another stream, and with my progress from the day before, I was confident that I'd beat it. After about an hour and a half, I got back to my PB and got to the head hitters, and to my surprise, I've ended up fluking them. I was sure I wouldn't, because they're super inconsistent. I was at floor 10, and really did not want to lose a potential fluke. I started focusing, and luckily, was able to beat it. I know I didn't go into nearly as much detail as I did with my TOTS grind, but that's because I care significantly less about this completion. Sorry. Anyways, with this tower out of the way, the next one on the list was the Tower of Shattered Dreams. A bit of a spoiler alert from my experience with TOSD, It sucks. A lot. It's really long, really boring, and has a bunch of difficulty spikes. Good thing it isn't any harder than it is. Yes, I know TOCN exists, don't remind me about it. Anyways, I attempted this tower for a while on the day I beat TOTF, and managed to get to floor 9. In practice, I thought this tower would be absolutely free. It was slow, had simple jumps, and was quite sight readable. However, I had not realized that falling in almost every place would send you all the way back to floor 1. This tower was really boring. So boring that I ended up playing Subway Surfers gameplay in the corner to not bore my viewers to death. I eventually got so bored that I ended the stream and waited till the next day to beat it. On the next day, it took a while, but I was able to beat the tower after a few really cool clutches.
Oh, fuck. How did I save that?
And a few really annoying floor 10 fails.
Oh my fucking god, I fucking hate this fucking tower. Fuck. No way. Okay.
I was really happy after I beat it that I didn't have to deal with this annoying tower anymore. Next up would be the Tower of Traps. Many people hate TOT, but I ended up enjoying it a decent amount. To me, it was fun to try to remember which trap came next as I played, even though the first few floors were really boring. I played it for a while, the same stream I beat TOSD, but I failed the 9 outside like 3 or 4 times. This made me mad because it was really easy in my mind. I also found out around this time that you could edit the signs on floor 9.
Yeah, I feel like... Oh, what? Wait, what? Wait, what the heck? Wait, look at my screen. Wait. I didn't know you could edit those. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what can't... Wait.
This was a hilarious discovery. It was late at night after that though, so I continued the next day. On that day, I ended up beating the tower on my very first attempt. I got all the way up to 10, but caught myself on 9 right before the outside after failing. Despite this, I managed to pass the wraparound yet again and ended up beating it. The next tower after this would be my second Remorseless, new hardest, and another massive roadblock in progression. Tower of Eternal Suffering. I knew that this would be my hardest, so going into it was definitely intimidating. I practiced for a bit, and it honestly didn't feel like TOTS in the way that the gameplay was really hard. For TOES, it was more of just the consistency of some jumps here and there, and the overall awkwardness of the gameplay that made up the true difficulty. One good thing about streaming towers like this is that while you're practicing, people in chat will tell you how you could be doing certain jumps better, or different skips you could use. This would end up being really useful in this tower, with a big skip at floor 10 coming in handy. My PB at the start of the stream was a tightrope on floor 3 that I tried to rush. After only a few minutes of attempts, I got a run that managed to reach all the way to floor 5. I thought this was a sign that this tower wouldn't take me as long as I thought it would, but boy would I end up being wrong. For the rest of the stream, I loop failed the first 3 floors. This would become a common event in the next few streams. For stream 2, which was the same day as stream 1, I continued to loop fail the first few floors and do practice runs to the tower. Nothing much other than that. This one jump onto a ladder on floor 5 was something that gave me a lot of trouble when I started playing this. The next day, I started my third TOAS stream. It was a goal of mine to pass floor 5, because I was getting incredibly bored of the music. If you haven't already played TOAS, it only has 4 songs in it. The first one lasting from floors 1 to 2, the second one lasting from floors 3 to 5, the third one lasting from floors 6 to 7, and the final one lasting from floors 8 to 10. To this point, I'd pretty much only been listening to the second song of the tower because the first 2 floors take less than a minute to pass. This song is good, but I was listening to the same parts over and over again. I usually healed in this one corner on a stud where the kill brick spinners wouldn't reach you, And this part would play every single time I got there. This was becoming incredibly annoying, so I was really hoping for a chance to listen to the change in music. It was on my third stream that I would end up finally passing the 5th floor and finally being able to listen to a shitty song that's also used in the Tower of Traps, but I didn't care. It was a PB. I played through floor 6 and ended up passing it, reaching floor 7. I passed the badly made kill brick tunnel, did the kill brick wraps on top, but I ended up failing an easy jump to a half stud wide platform because I didn't jump long enough. I didn't care about how bad my fail was though. I was happy to have made it to 7. Little did I know, however, that floor 7 would destroy me before letting me pass it. This is as far as I would make it that stream, which I was content with. I started up another stream later in the day, and in this stream, I might have gotten back to floor 7, but I'm honestly not sure because I used to not put the amount of times I'd failed a floor on my PB, and I don't really want to watch myself play an incredibly boring to watch tower. Sorry. Something I learned about this tower during my time playing it was that pretty much anywhere you fail, you fall all the way back to the beginning. This would prove to be really annoying in the long run. Most of my attempts that I didn't fail floor 1 or 3, I would just end up failing at 5, or if I was lucky, floor 7, and fall all the way back to the beginning. The other annoying thing about this tower is that it's incredibly short, but you have to stop and wait for multiple minutes at a time to let yourself heal due to the amount of kill bricks in the tower. This was the absolute worst part of the tower. It annoyed me to no end when I healed, but fell right after, wasting minutes of my time for nothing. Anyways, after possibly failing floor 7 another time, I ended the stream for the night and started up another one the next day. This one was also pretty uneventful. I probably failed floor 7 a few times, and I really hated that floor when it was my PB. After that, I wouldn't end up streaming for 4 days because I got sick. When I did stream again, it wasn't for long and literally nothing happened. The next day though, I start rolling the ball up the mountain again. Something funny about these two streams was that I had been using the wrong microphone. Anyways, about an hour into the stream, I finally made it to floor 8. If I remember correctly, I failed floor 7 roughly 12 times before passing it.
Go! Okay. Oh my god, look at my health. Look at my health. Look at my health. Look at my health. My health was at 1. My health was at 1. My health was at 1. My health was at 1.
Let's go. Oh my god. Dude. Oh my god, I'm actually here. When I did make it to 8, I passed a pretty difficult seesaw type platform. I don't really know what they're called. But I ended up passing it, which I thought I'd fail, so this was good. When I did make it to 8, I failed a pretty difficult ladder grab thing on a certain structure that I was 100% sure that I would fail at least one of the jumps on. Getting to 8 was a huge boost in motivation though. It took only about 20 minutes for me to make it back up to 8, but then I failed something that would turn out to be another big problem. A swaying platform that you had to tilt in a certain direction to get the height needed to jump onto a kill brick. In theory, it seems like an easy jump, but I ended up overthinking it a lot of the attempts I made it up there, and it became a roadblock. The next day, about 45 minutes into my stream, I ended up getting past it, and past the final jump of the structure I mentioned earlier, which I did not expect to happen. The final jump was a really long jump, and at the time, I was really bad at long jumps. I knew at this point that if I focused, I had a chance to beat the tower. Unfortunately, I failed a slanted head hitter type jump right before the floor 8 outside, which was really annoying. However, seeing how close I was to reaching floor 9 motivated me to play the tower.
Ah! Damn it! Oh! Ah, nice. Floor 8, again. Oh my god, dude. I'm so confident I'm going to beat this soon. I already know it, man. I'm gonna fail some more times, but, like, I'm going to beat this, like, probably on Thursday.
At this point, with this consistency, it was still so fucking boring having to wait to heal many times throughout the tower. This made it really annoying to play and grind. I stopped playing the tower as much in this time, even though I was really close to beating it. However, I'd forgotten about something that I'd said in a previous stream. I'd made a goal to beat every tower before the first soul-crushing tower before I went on a 10-day long vacation, which I would leave for on August 1st. At this point, it was July 17th, I still had quite a few more towers to beat, so I was running out of time. At this point, I was motivated to play it, despite the fact that I would be faced with really boring healing simulator shit gameplay. I don't know if you could tell, but I don't really like this tower all that much. While I was playing it, I thought it was really boring but fine to play, which was good because I didn't want to mind block the tower. At this point, my consistency became somewhat of an issue to me. I was so consistent that pretty much every attempt past floor 3 would result in an attempt at 7 or 8 where I would just fail something stupid and it would make me really mad. It was hard not to rage while playing this tower because it was just constant failure. The next day, I only streamed for a few minutes. The day after, though, would be interesting, to say the least. I felt that my constant failures on floor 7 and 8 might be due to my stress from streaming the tower, so I decided to play it off stream for that morning. I played for a few hours, and ended up failing the same head hitter on 8 as I did a few days before. I didn't let this demotivate me, though, and kept playing. It didn't take long for me to get back to that jump, and this time I ended up passing it. I went to go do the outside section, but unfortunately, I failed a rather long jump due to me not setting it up right. This otherwise easy jump was an annoying fail, but I now knew that I had to lock in and beat it. Just a few minutes later, I got back to the outside section, and this time I ended up passing the jump I failed before, making it to floor 9. At this point, I was really nervous because there were very few things I thought I might fail from this point on. One thing I thought that I could fail if I was nervous was the first jump onto the fake platforms, but I ended up passing it. At this point, I was really scared. I practiced 9 and 10 so much, so I just let my practice kick in, and I ended up nailing all the rest of the difficult jumps on 9. I got awfully close to failing the wraparounds, but I managed to clutch it up. I passed the walkarounds that, just days earlier, I had learned how to do correctly. Before, I'd been holding A and not W, which is very inconsistent. I thought that it would be another major roadblock in the task of beating it, but when I learned that you had to hold W as well, it just clicked. My confidence increased drastically, which might have been why I got so consistent in the last few days of playing. Anyways, I did the final head hitter of floor 9, which meant I was now on the final floor. At this point, I was shaking. I carefully did each jump, and I inched closer and closer to the wind pad. Unfortunately, I ended up failing one of the most random and easiest jumps of the tower. This made me pretty mad.
No way! Oh my... Fuck! Fucking knew it.
But I knew I still had a chance to beat it. It took me about 20 minutes to make it back to 8, and I ended up getting back to 9 again, and then getting back to 10. I was nervous again, but this time I ended up passing the easy jump I had failed. One of the few jumps I could potentially fail now was the half stud wrap that's up against the wall. Luckily, I was able to do it without any trouble. Next up was the skip, which involved a high jump, and luckily enough, I got it without having to spend much time trying to land it. I was also scared of the jump to the platform after the skip, but yet again, I landed it, but it was pretty close. At this point, there was nothing I could fail to. I took my time with the rest of the jumps, and was able to reach the roof of the tower. Here, you basically can't fall unless you walk off intentionally. I started a stream when I got up there, and as I walked to the wind pad, it was so relieving knowing that this major roadblock was over, even though my reaction was pretty underwhelming.
Oh my god! It's done. It's done. It's... Oh my god, it's done. Oh my god. Yes.
With this over, there wouldn't be a tower that was too difficult for a while, so I had a nice break ahead of me. For the final tower in Ring 2 for now, it was time for Tower of Falling and Failing. TOFAF was pretty bad. It's got a bunch of GBJs, which makes it really annoying. This tower is mostly just choke point after choke point, with the first being the floor with the big spinner above a GBJ. This floor is really annoying. When you pass it though, you have a good shot at beating it, unless you die of running out of health. I did end up dying on one of the last floors of the tower at some point, funnily enough. My funniest fail was on the final floor. I'll just play the clip. Oh, hey Fever. Are you...
It was all for nothing. 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 It was all for nothing!
Yeah, not too fun, but not long after, I did end up beating it. This was the final tower I had left for Ring 2, so it was time to move on to the next area of the game, Ring 3! The first and easiest tower in Ring 3 was none other than the Tower of Funny Thoughts. The only funny thoughts this tower makes you think are the funny thoughts of how fucking stupid the gameplay is. Anyways, as with the other easy tower, I didn't have any fails. I did have a fun time walking through that one maze type thing. That's truly the peak of JToH gameplay. After this, I ended the stream for a while, but started back up in the afternoon. My next tower would be the Tower of Slight Inconvenience. TOSI is another boring tower. When you pass the first 3 or so floors, you have a good shot at beating it. This tower also has a safety net halfway through, but they're still outside sections, so I was hoping I wouldn't fail them, and I didn't. I got very close to failing one of the final jumps of the tower though, which was very scary to say the least. Anyways, this didn't take long, and the next tower, Tower of Deep Sighing, wouldn't either. TOTS is rated medium, and it only ended up taking me 1 attempt to complete. The first time I beat it, I didn't enjoy it, but this time, I thought it was pretty good. Honestly, most of the towers I'd beaten at this point for the challenge were like C tier or below, so this is probably top 5 best. I don't know what this tower was like before the revamp, but it's pretty good now. Not much to say about my experience with it. Next up on the chopping block was the Tower of Fatness. This tower was yet another nothing burger. No, literally, it looks like a burger, the frame. Anyways, one interesting thing about this tower was a strange thin stud on one of the later floors. I failed it a few times, but eventually passed it and beat it the same attempt. For some reason, everyone in my chat was hating on me when I was beating this. And also, I'm seriously running out of transitional phrases from tower to tower, so, Tower of Winning Every Run. Again, it's hard to say much or remember much about my experience with Tower. It's a decent tower, and I beat it pretty quickly. It might have been the longest tower in the game at the point it was made though. I don't think I have much else to say about this one, so next was the Tower of Ancient Trickery. Yet again, this is quite an easy tower, so there's not much to talk about. Ring 3 is a break ring, and I've been beating these one after the other all in one day. This tower was more interesting than most in Ring 3 though, because of the visuals. It really was way ahead of its time with the way it looked. It feels like an actual underground temple and not just a classic tower. So yeah, good job TOAT creators. Beating it yet again took pretty much no time, so it was time to move on to the Tower of Wall Hugging. TOWH is actually really fun to play through. It was also the last tower I beat on July 18th, making for 9 towers in one day, which I can't see myself outdoing, because most of these were rebeats. I thought I might have forgotten how to play this tower because I had beaten it on my old account, but this wasn't the case. I improved a lot at JToH, so most of the tower wasn't an issue. There were a few places that had weird gameplay, but overall it was fun despite having a few fails. I attempted one more tower that day, which was the tower of lots of damage.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape, the super strong...
TOLD is often used to define the quality of Ring 3 towers. Playing through this tower can be annoying, and almost every conveyor is in a bad position. At least hearing Phil Swift say,
I sawed this boat in half!
is funny. Anyways, other than TOES, this was the first tower I had played that day that wouldn't be a rebeat. I had some small progress on it, but nothing too much. I went through it blind and ended up failing floor 10 from a strange conveyor part. I called it a night, and the next day I ended up failing 10 two more times to other unmarked conveyors. After these though, I did end up beating it. It was a pretty bland tower. The next and final tower before the big one was Tower of Despair.
Flex Tape is super...
TOD was really annoying. When I started it, it took me a while to get the first few floors down. The colors were also really bright, making it really hard to play. After dying in the spinner part at about floor 5, I managed to get to the safety net that starts on the second half of the tower. This section has a lot of kill bricks though, so you need to be really careful with your health. I ended up getting a floor 9 in this run, but I'm pretty sure it ended up ending due to an outside section or a kill brick maze maybe. At this point, it was late at night though, so I tried again for the next day. I did end up beating it after making it to the safety net and loop failing for a while. I failed 410 a few times, but I didn't fail the scary last jump above the void. Well, the next tower at this point was something that I knew would be a huge journey and roadblock in my progression. My first soul-crushing tower, the Tower of Confusion. I knew from the start of the challenge that this would be my first SC, and now that it was finally time to get started, I was really scared. I knew I was in for a ride. My hardest at the time, TOES, was rated a 7.4 on the difficulty chart, and TOC is rated a whopping 8.81. Difficulties get exponentially harder as they go, so doing a jump of over one whole difficulty point would be something I knew would take a really long time. This was a good stopping point though, as I would be going on a 10-day vacation 2 days from then. I still had a lot of time left to play on the day I beat TOD, so I decided to do a practice run on the tower, and then played from the beginning. I was able to gain consistency with the first floor relatively quickly. I did have a lot of practice on the tower in the past because I knew this was coming, so I was able to make progress faster than I would have if I was going into it for the first time. Floor 2 seemed much harder than the first though, and this would prove to be true. I did end up passing it one time during that stream, but ended up failing one of the first conveyor jumps on floor 3. This would end up being the furthest I made it before my vacation, which I was content with. The day after, which was also the day before my vacation, I decided to rebeat the first 8 towers instead of playing TOC. When I finally got back home from vacation, I wanted to try hard to beat the tower before the start of the school year, which was in 2 weeks at that point. My first day back, which was day 2 of grinding, did not go well. I couldn't pass floor 2 and ended up rage quitting. This wasn't a good sign for me. On day 3, I played for quite a bit longer. It was either this day or day 4 that I purchased T-Pose, helicopter powers, and trail mix. Beating this tower without at least some form of healing or damage reducing items is nearly impossible, so I was no longer scared of getting far and dying. Day 3 was a big improvement from day 2. On this day, I ended up getting 3 runs that ended at floor 3. This made my total by the end of the day 4 floor 3 fails. This floor was a major difficulty spike for me, so I knew making any new progress was a matter of whether I could get a lucky run or not. I knew I wasn't likely to pass floor 3 soon though, because all of my floor 4 fails were near the beginning and not at the actual hard parts. Day 4 was yet another improvement in consistency. I ended up reaching floor 3 9 times in one day. I didn't mind that I couldn't get to floor 4. If I was getting consistency, I was fine. These first few streams were fun because of the constant updating of my PB counter. The day would start with floor 3 times floor, and it would end with floor 3 times 13. I was also wondering what my final count would be for floor 3 fails by the time I finally got to floor 4, so this kept me motivated. Also, for clarification, I don't consider loop failing 2 and 3 to be multiple attempts. The count is only raised by 1 when I fall all the way to floor 1. Anyways, day 5 was a pretty crazy day. It started with the usual, falling on the first 3 floors over and over. I was so consistent with the tower at this point that my PB reached floor 3 times 20, then floor 3 times 25, and even floor 3 times 30. By the time I actually passed floor 3, it was floor 3 times 33. At that point though, I knew luck was the only thing holding me back from getting to floor 4. I actually wasn't annoyed at all that I couldn't get to 4. It was a joke in chat, and we were having a good time guessing how big the counter would be when I passed it, and updating each time I failed. This ended up making my experience with the early stages of playing the tower way more fun. Anyways, I would end up getting to floor 4 after only 33 fails at floor 3. This was relieving, but it was a bit sad that I couldn't see the number of floor 3 fails increase anymore. Fortunately though, once I passed 3 once, it sort of just clicked for me. Very few attempts later, I ended up getting to floor 4 again, but this time, I had a disappointing fail. I knew I had to keep playing though. Not long after, I once again got to floor 4, and this time, I failed one of the last half studs before the dance clips, which was a safety platform of sorts. I said to the chat, it's really amazing being this consistent at the tower right now. It's too bad that it'll probably be the most consistent I'll ever be at the tower. You guys are getting the best of the best right now, or something like that. This would end up being completely wrong though. It took me a bit longer to get back up to floor 4, but this time things would be different. I would end up passing all of the half stud jumps and making it to the dance clip platform, setting a new PB. Where would I get this time?
I can't do it. I can't. Come on. I can do this. I practiced this.
I can't. I'm shaking too much. I can't do it. Dude, I'm too nervous. Come on. Come on. I can't do it. I'm not gonna fluke it from floor 4, by the way. I can't. I'm shaking so much. You guys have no idea how hard this is for me. My hands are like about to go numb right now. Whew. That's good enough, right? Oh my! Oh my god! 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 Yes! 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 Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! 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 Yeah, a fluke from floor 4 to side B. At this point, I was both so happy that I didn't choke and shocked that I'd even gotten to this point so soon. I had expected it to take me the rest of the summer break, maybe even longer, but no. At this point, I was still scared of getting disconnected due to Wi-Fi, so I focused on getting through side B. In side B's case, if you can pass floor 5, it's hard to fail. It's the same with side A, but you can fall into a GBJ that you can't escape from. The next 30 minutes or so, I ended up failing on 6B once somehow, getting a scare that the floor 10 GBJ escape hadn't been patched, turns out it hadn't, and nearly dying due to a ragdoll into a kill brick. But after that, I ended up getting a run back to 6B. I knew that I had to focus, that this was the moment I'd been waiting for. This is what ended up happening. Yep, you can do it. This is it, guys. Okay. I'm not gonna scream, don't worry, my family's also sleeping. This is it. I'm scared.
I did it! Oh my god, I did it! I did it! I did it! Yes, I did it! I did it! I did it! Yes, I did it! I did it! I did it! Oh my god, we did it!
And that was it, my first soul-crushing tower. I couldn't believe that it had happened so soon. Like I said earlier, I had expected it to take weeks. Anyways, enough said about TOC. Let's talk about the future of this challenge, because this is where I stand now. The next tower after TOC will be TODC, Tower of Difficulty chart, which, as of writing the script, I'm still working on beating. I'm looking forward to continuing this challenge and taking it as far as I can. My TOC video ended up getting multiple thousand views somehow, which had never happened to me before. This ended up causing my streams to start getting constant viewers. I have to say, I'm really excited for the future of the challenge, and I'm looking forward to streaming all the future towers, whether it's a walk in the park or a major roadblock. I try to stream my attempts as much as I can here on YouTube, so if you want to see what I'm currently working on, come check it out. I'll make a sequel to this video when I beat the third SC of this series. If you know what it is, you know why. Anyways, if you watched the video this far, thank you so much for watching. Update. It's been about 3.5 months since I wrote the script for this video, and I still haven't beaten TODC. It took a major toll on my motivation for the challenge due to the unbalanced gameplay, which made me feel like I would never pass floor 9. Hopefully someday I can finally beat TODC, and when that happens, I'll be able to start the challenge again. If I ever beat it, it'll be its own video, and I'll start streams up again. They wouldn't be too frequent due to school, but it would be better than it has been. Anyways, back to the actual script. This is my first attempt at scripted/commentary type content, so let me know what I could be doing better. Again, thanks for watching. See you later.